Ratsénhaienhs Alan John Rice. I'm here today just to go over, I guess, my acclimation into the new role of council chief, as well as my portfolios, which we allocated about maybe 2 months ago. So it's been quite a bit of a change from my last position to this one. After the election, we went into a orientation process, which essentially took up about 2 months. It was a bit of a long process, but I'm really happy we did it. We got to do a lot of different types of training that I didn't really get before, governance training, learning how to be more hands-off, because in my last position, it was really hands-on, doing a lot of the actual writing and paperwork that had to be done. Now it's taken a little bit to get used to doing more giving direction rather than supervising, because that's what I was doing in the past. One of the other trainings I was really happy we got to take was a trauma training, something I never knew anything about. And it's actually something we've discussed at the table to maybe offer something like this to the community, because just like any Indigenous community, there's a lot of trauma that's gone through it. And I think it'd be a really good thing to be able to offer that to the community. We've talked about it as a table to have that. Moving more into the orientation, we got a chance to go to the different organizations as well as the different departments around MCK. So we're able to get a good, at least a brief overview of what everybody does and what their needs are. Turns out there's a lot more needs in this community than originally thought. So it was good to get that big overview, because essentially we're having to work with everybody. So following that, we moved into portfolio distribution. So it took a while to learn about every portfolio. I know people were excited and wanted us to know what our portfolios were right away. I'm happy it took that little bit of time, because realistically, each portfolio is so big, it needs at least a couple days of actual learning what it's about and what goes into it, who the players are, who the workers are. So in the end, I ended up as the lead for community and social affairs, which is actually what I wanted. I spoke a lot about housing, as did most of the candidates leading up to the election. So I kind of wanted to at least try to put my money where my mouth is in this case. I worked for client-based services previously, so I had a good working relationship with the employees for all the departments there, and then the former departments there, which include housing and recreation. So it was good having these meetings with housing. I know that housing has been a big issue in the community for the past couple of years, especially since 2018 when the big issue happened. And it was good to get the insight from the people who are working there. I know the type, I've heard them because I sat in the office next to the housing department, so I heard the phones ringing off the hook. So now it's got a good chance to see why that happened, what has to go into it. And what we've learned is that we have a lot of work to do, but it's a lot of structural work. So we have to build the structure up first before we're able to implement new programs. So with that, I think we have a great team. There's a new director there. There's also the three chiefs that are also on the file. I have myself, Ryan Montour would be the lead, and Mike DeLille is also on there. So we have a good bit of experience, as well as people who are willing to jump in and get the work done. Under Community Social Affairs, it also falls under Office of the KKR, Office of the Kahnawake Registry. I know that our acronyms kind of drive people crazy sometimes. It's formerly membership. So that's where I came from before. I was the general manager of that office, and we did a lot of work in the laws. So now we just have a couple staffing changes that have to happen. After that, we should be able to move forward with the residency law. I know there were a lot of people who were particularly excited about that law. So once that's happened, we plan on moving forward with that. Last Wednesday, I believe it was the 26th, we were able to have a community gathering outside for a kiosk for people to come ask questions. And I was happy because I got to meet with a representative from Connecting Horizons, which also falls under my portfolio. I'll be honest, it's something I didn't know very much about. But after having this conversation, I think it's great that it's under here. It's something that the community needs. Essentially, it is making buildings and different areas around the community accessible for those people with physical disabilities or who have special needs. So I think that it's something I never realized myself how inaccessible our community is until this conversation. So I think it's great that we have this opportunity to work on that. I think it's something we're gonna have to put a lot of work into. Just moving on to another portfolio I ended up on, not the lead, but I am on Indigenous Rights and Research. And under that is a file called Consultation, which essentially is every time there's infrastructure being built on the outside that would have adverse impacts to either our community or our ancestral land, people have to do a consultation with us. Whether that means it comes with compensation, like for example, the Champlain Bridge. When that was built, we were able to get workers on there as well as having archaeology done, because that's officially our, that's something that's considered our land going back that far. If there's work being done farther away, the compensation is less. Mainly we do a lot of environmental assessments. That's what we want. We want to make sure that the habitat and the animals are taken care of. But one thing I've learned about consultation is that it does take up about 90% of my week. There's constant meetings because there's constant infrastructure going up. I believe this is almost everything. Wait till the end before I stumble on my words. But thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, Nyawagoa and Onagi.